A 21-point win for Duke over Wake Forest in ACC play. Let's get into it on today's episode.
Hi, everybody. Dick Vitale. Hey, make sure you listen, man. The Locked On Blue Devils with J.J. Jackson. He's awesome, baby.
You are Locked On Blue Devils, your daily podcast on the Duke Blue Devils. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody. Welcome into another episode of the Locked On Blue Devils podcast. My name is J.J. Jackson. So great to have you here with us today on this Monday, January 26, 2026, as we are Locked On Blue Devils, your one-stop shop where we discuss everything going on inside the life of Duke athletics. On today's show, we break down Duke's big-time win over Wake Forest, 90-69, the final score, as the Blue Devils improved to 7-0 in ACC play, 18-1 overall, and a very quick turnaround as the Blue Devils will look to welcome in the Louisville Cardinals a little bit later today. If you haven't done so already, please be sure to follow and subscribe to our show for free wherever it is that you get your podcast. Go ahead and leave us a 5-star rating and written review. Take a moment, if you will. Be sure to watch our show each and every day on YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Like this video. Share it with your friends. Your support means so much to us with what we got going on here at Locked On Blue Devils. Kevin Connelly from Ball Durham hanging out with us on today's show as we welcome him into the program. And Kevin, so good to see you once again, my friend. And once again, happy to be talking about yet another Duke win. Always good to knock off those foes in Wake Forest, who have still not won in Cameron Indoor Stadium since Tim Duncan was a senior. Hope you're doing well, my friend.
I'm doing good, JJ. Thanks for having me. And yeah, that feels like it's kind of one of the least talked about stats and winning streaks in college basketball, that Wake hasn't won in Cameron since Tim Duncan. And like, they've had decent teams, like
no kidding, yeah,
capable of winning, and it just hasn't fallen their way. But hey, listen, man, hand up. I was wrong about this one. I was wrong. Yeah. You know, we talked about this game last week, and you said, you know, is the break, could there be some rust? Is there going to be a slow start? And I said, I don't think so. Like, you know, I think like that it's just a couple of days off. You're still in the heat of conference play, but hey, man, I was wrong. It was a slow start, but once they got rolling around like that 8-minute mark, there was no stopping them. Yeah,
I mean, they ended the half on that major run to get a little bit of separation. In the second half, Wake got it as close as 10. But then from there, Duke was able to kind of put the foot down and get off to a big run and that sort of thing. You're right, though. I mean, we were talking about it all week. Like, is this week off going to have an impact on Duke and what they look like? Here's what they didn't have an impact. The fact that Cameron Boozer still suits up and plays for the Blue Devils. Another 32-point performance, Kevin.
Yeah, you know, again, I feel bad because I don't have any more adjectives to describe how good he is. Like, it's 32.
We got to study at the Thoris. I can't even say that. The Thoris
Thesaurus, there you go.
Yeah.
You know, rolls out of bed, 12 o'clock start, game gets pushed up 5 hours, and all he does is give you 32, 9, and 4. No big deal. Just some light early afternoon work. And what do you have? I got the stats right here. Oh, he had 3 steals as well. So he gave you 39, 4, and 3 on 11 of 20 shooting. He made 3 threes. He made all 7 free throws. He played 33 minutes. Yeah, ho-hum. That's some early afternoon work for Cam Boozer. Now, certainly we'll get into the rest of the box score as we go, but I thought Pat Gongba played well. Isaiah Evans didn't have one of his best games, but luckily Duke didn't really need him to have that big of a game. And you saw some other guys really contribute as well. So I think all in all, a really solid game, a game that didn't put a lot of stress on you in the final 25-ish minutes. And it sets up for, as you mentioned, monster game tonight against Louisville. And I'm sure we'll get into it as well. But Louisville didn't leave Louisville and go to Durham until Monday morning. Because the East Coast storm and all that stuff. So see if the same day travel has any impact on this game.
Yeah, and certainly, you look at the way this game has been played out. As you and I are talking, it's still on course for the game to be played. But as this winter storm has, again, progressed, it certainly has changed on a dime. So we're assuming that they will continue to play the game a little bit later this evening. Back on this Wake game, though, Duke winning by 21 points, improving to 18-1. There are some specific box score oddities that I want to get up to in the second segment that I thought were quite interesting when you look at this one. But highlighting Cameron Boozer, once again, you said it, the 32 points, back-to-back 30-point games for him. He continues to make his case for the National Player of the Year, a consensus first-team All-American, and making his case to be the number 1 overall draft pick. I mean, that is a much greater discussion to be had. But to think that this guy is following up Cooper Flagg every conversation that we had a year ago, and yet he continues to deliver. Like, there hasn't been a bad Cameron Boozer game at all. Knock on wood, knock on everything possible. Yeah, there have been slow starts, but he always turns it on and gets it going. And here's the latest, statement that he's made with this 32-point outing.
Yeah, listen, I mean, he fell 8 points shy, right? Because what was it?
Yep.
3 other freshmen on Saturday scored 40 points. AJ from BYU being one of them. And AJ said it when he was asked the question, because you also saw Keaton Wagler and Kingston Flemings get 40 points in their games for Houston, who lost, if I'm remembering correctly, to Texas Tech, and then Illinois, who pulled off the upset on the road against Purdue. So it's been a banner year for freshmen. We know what Cam Boozer can do. We know what DeBonza can do. We know what Darren Peterson, when he's healthy, what he can do. Man, this freshman class is special. Not wishing June to come here already. Certainly would like the June weather to come here. Especially given what we've all experienced on the East Coast over the last 48 to 72 hours. But man, the conversations that we're going to have really from, let's just say from April until June for the NBA draft, there are going to be some fascinating conversations at the top of this draft and throughout the lottery with how good this freshman class has been so far.
Yeah, and the biggest thing we know is that Cam has asserted himself and deserves to be in that conversation and will be in that conversation once we get there.
Yeah, well, once we get there, and I know we're getting a little off course here, but in any other draft class, he is probably by far the number 1 choice. And in this draft class, it's loaded. It's more likely than not he's going to be number 3. And that's kind of crazy, especially when you look at the consistent numbers he's put up all year.
And the team is winning. I mean, compared to the other 2 guys that you're looking at in DeBonta and Darren Peterson, there have been some losses come along either way. And yet Duke continues to stack wins, continues to push this thing forward. So big-time performance out of him. And hopefully he's able to play well tonight against Louisville. He did the first time around, and certainly needing a big-time performance from him coming up a little bit later. With that said, let's dive a little bit more into the box score from Duke's game against Wake Forest, and we'll do that after we take our first timeout. Locked On Blue Devils here today is brought to you by our friends over at Mazda. This Mazda is moving the game forward for those who show there's more to score than what's on the screen. These remind you of what it really takes to raise the bar high. It's that extra work off the court, dialing in every single detail, giving it that extra fire, that grit, and the I never quit. When we take a look at highlighting the moving the game forward moment for Duke basketball, again, just a total all-around performance from Cam Boozer this weekend with those 32 points against Wake Forest. We put the same passion into every model. Highlights make the reel. What it took to get there makes it count. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you. Mazda, move or be moved. And Mazda, of course, is a proud sponsor of Locked On Blue Devils. All right, we move forward here on the show today. JJ Jackson hanging out with my pal Kevin Connelly as we talk about Duke basketball against Louisville coming up tonight. Duke has officially confirmed this game will be played a little bit later this evening, and they're coming into this game fresh off a victory over Wake Forest, where, let me get you one of the odd things here, Kevin. It's a 21-point win for Duke over Wake, and yet Wake doubled up the Blue Devils in 3-point makes. Duke made 7 3-point shots in this one. Wake made 14, and it was still a 21-point loss for the Demon Deacons.
Well, there's a couple of things that go into that, right? I think the first thing you want to look at is the free throw line. And as much as we've criticized this team for not being able to shoot free throws, they shot free throws very well on Saturday, going 21 of 24. So Duke made 21 free throws. Wake Forest only made 11. So you make 10 points up right there. And for Wake Forest, yes, they shot a great percentage from 3-point range, but they shot a horrific percentage from 2-point range. And most of all their shots came from 3-point range. It took 54 shots in this game. 32 of them came from 3-point range. So I'm going to do some quick math here, JJ. Wake Forest was 8 of 22 from 2-point range. that's not going to win you a lot of basketball games. Even if you hit 14 threes, you still got to make a couple of twos along the way. And on the opposite side, what we were talking about last week as well, Duke realized they weren't hitting 3-pointers. They were just 7 of 25 finishing this game. Well, what did they do? They went to the two beasts down low in Cam Boozer and Pat Gongba and shot 50% overall. And what's that? I can't do this math as quickly in my head. Let's see, 31 minus 7 is 24. So Duke was 24 of 30 something from 2-point range. And that'll win you a lot of basketball.
Yeah, we'll take that for sure. That's as efficient as it gets for this team.
If you see the smoke coming out of my ears, that was my brain trying to do quick math in my head.
And my brain's just not awake this morning personally. So I was going to let you have that moment there. You mentioned how poor the percentage was for Wake. Another big advantage for Duke is that they were able to win the rebounding battle so decisively, 43-22. So they weren't giving up many offensive rebounds, only 6 to Wake Forest to make sure they weren't able to climb back into the game there. I mean, that part in itself was massive. And really, you look and it wasn't a double-double for Cam, so he finished with 9, just one shy. I bring that up to say it was a full team rebounding effort when it's 43 total as a team.
Yeah, and that's what you got to do on the backboards, right? You got to rebound as a team. Sure, you want your guards to potentially leak out and get some easy points where, JJ, your favorite stat man, fast break points, Duke had 9 of them. They did not put up another 0 in this game. So you would love for that to happen, but the most important thing is securing the basketball, right? It doesn't matter if you have 2 guards ready down there for easy layups. It's you got to get the basketball first. And sometimes you need all 5 guys to chip in and secure that defensive rebound, which
Kevin, I love easy layups. I love dunks and whatnot. And you're right. I saw it in the comments, even after we've had conversations lately, people on YouTube wanting to talk about JJ's affinity for fast break points. And I just want to get out and run, man. I want to see this team do it a little bit more and be able to score there. But I can't complain because, again, this is a 20-plus point victory that we're talking about.
Yeah, listen, and they had those 9 points, 9 fast break points. One thing I noticed, which hasn't been the case over the last couple of games, where I think in the last 3 games, Duke has turned over their opponent at least 15 times, if not more. Wake Forest, only 9 turnovers in this game. So Duke did a great job at limiting them scoring from 2-point range. They limited them getting to the free throw line. Obviously, Wake Forest shot a high percentage, but Duke didn't turn Wake Forest over like they had been their opponents over the past week or so.
So looking at that first half for Duke and for Wake Forest specifically, I mean, Duke Harris, if you look at the final numbers, finishing with 23 points on 6 of 12 shooting, 5 of 9 from 3, he did nothing in the first half of play. Dame Sarr, once again, I saw our good friend Jordan Mann refer to it as Sarr straps, with him locking up people on the defensive end of the floor. Did a remarkable job there on Duke Harris, then got into foul trouble. And in the second half, not a whole lot of Dame out there on the floor, and that's really when we started to see Duke Harris get it going there for Louisville or for Wake Forest. I say that to say also, so touch on Duke Harris for me, Kevin, but then also with Mikel Brown Jr. coming back recently, it's another opportunity for a Sarr's straps performance for him to take on a good defensive challenge.
Well, listen, I think they're 2 separate conversations, right? The first one, I'll start with Wake Forest, and we feel like we haven't really seen, since Dame Sarr has turned into this incredible defender where he locks down the other opponent's guard, we haven't really seen him get into foul trouble, which has been great.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the case in this game, where you mentioned he did get into foul trouble. He wasn't out there a lot in the second half. Overall, he only plays 17 minutes, and that's when Harris was able to get going. And granted, Duke had already seized control of the game, but he was able to keep Wake Forest lurking, hanging around. You mentioned the closest they got was 10, but without him, Duke wins this game by what, 40? I mean, they already won it by 30, 20, but they could have won it by 30 or 40 points. Then switching gears to Louisville, obviously Duke didn't have the best defensive game plan in the first half, and it was Ryan Conwell who really hurt Duke from the outside. And then in the second half, they make the adjustment and they put Dame Sarr on him. But as you just mentioned, the one big thing was Mikel Brown didn't play.
Yeah,
he was out of that game. So, sure, Dame Sarr can focus on Ryan Conwell in the second half and, really limit him. What's Duke going to do now? Because Brown's playing, Conwell's playing, Louisville's just about as healthy as they've been coming into this game. And this is a Louisville team that is with Brown out and over the last couple of weeks has slid in the top 25 rankings. I mean, they were pushing top 15, top 10, and now I think they're down closer to the back end of the poll in the high 20s. So this is a game for Louisville to kind of cement themselves as the best team in the ACC, the second best team in the ACC, a definite top 3 team in the ACC, and they're going to be really gunning for this game, knowing that it's a light schedule in college basketball, JJ, tonight. I mean, I know you have 2 marquee games on ESPN here on Big Monday in Duke, Louisville, and BYU and Arizona, 2 games that should be incredible. So they know that they're the only show in town. They know that 75% of this country is still iced in and snowed in. Everybody's going to be watching this. There's no NFL. There's nothing else to watch on TV tonight. So a lot of people are going to be tuned into this game. And I know Louisville is going to come out and try to make a statement against Duke saying, hey, don't forget about us here. We're still really, really good.
Yeah, and I mean, that's so important because looking at what happened in the conference over the weekend, we saw the North Carolina Tar Heels pick up a really impressive road win over Virginia, which gave the Cavaliers their second loss. So in league play standings, Duke right now has a 2-game cushion on first place as it stands. So, I mean, that's massive going down. You know, they haven't even quite gotten halfway through the 18-game schedule within the league, but 7 games in for the Blue Devils in a 2-game lead.
And if Duke wins this game, there's no question of a doubt they'll have the tiebreaker over Louisville.
Right.
Because they'll be 2-0 against the Cardinals this year. So because if you go 1-1, then you go into the other tiebreakers. And I don't know, on the football field, the tiebreakers fell in Duke's favor. Would they fall in Duke's favor on the basketball court this year? I don't know. Do you take one to give one? But Duke can eliminate that conversation, at least with Louisville, with a win tonight, because going 2-0 against them, they would have the tiebreaker should it come into play at any point this year.
Yeah, I mean, such a quick turnaround. It feels like a moment where I'd love to be able to celebrate a little bit more this Wake Forest win and the big performances that were there, but you can't waste no time. You're on to the Cardinals, and then we'll see what Duke's able to do when they get out there a little bit later tonight.
Well, listen, this is what the NCAA tournament is, right?
Yeah.
You play, you have a day off, you play again. So, like, I know coaches probably don't love this quick turnaround Saturday to Monday, but this is what you're going to do in the most important games of the year in the NCAA tournament. So the fact that Duke is at home, I think, is for both games major benefit to them. But yeah, this is a time where it's like, hey, this is what we're going to be doing in the NCAA tournament, fellas. You play Saturday afternoon, you play Monday night, you have this quick 36-hour turnaround between games. Go out there and win because your season's on the line in the NCAA tournament. Pretend your season's on the line tonight as well against Louisville.
Without a doubt. All right, let's go ahead and we'll take our final time out here on the show today. On the other side, some more Duke basketball thoughts are here for you straight ahead. The show today is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. It is the last call for football on FanDuel. One final Sunday, one last kickoff, the final chance to get in on all the action before the NFL season officially comes to a close. This is Super Bowl 60, and FanDuel is making sure you're right in the middle of it with a special offer just in time for the biggest game of the year. Whether you're backing the favorite, riding with the underdog, or building one last same-game parlay, this is the game everyone's been waiting for. We saw great football yesterday with the Super Bowl matchup featuring the Seahawks and the Patriots. Perfect way to cap off the season and make FanDuel even more exciting. If you're a new customer, bet just $5 and get $200 in bonus bets if you win. Make it count because after the Super Bowl, the season is over. Last call for football on FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of Super Bowl 60. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. FanDuel is also a proud sponsor of Locked On Blue Devils. All right, welcome back into the program. JJ Jackson hanging out with my pal Kevin Connelly from Ball Durham and the Believe in Duke Football podcast. We talked about the great show and performance that we got to watch from Cameron Boozer, talked about winning on the glass and the discrepancy in three-point makes, but Duke made up for it on the free throw line. I wanted to make sure I gave a shout-out to my guy, Darren Harris, Kevin, because when the game gets to be a 10-point game in the second half, the closest it got at any point, Duke had gone cold for a couple of possessions. Who does the ball find the hands of? Darren Harris on the wing. He was able to get it go, and from there, Duke really never looked back. I mean, he finished 1 for 4. Did miss an easy bunny right after that three-point make that I know he wishes he could have back. But I was glad to see Darren have a moment like that in a game where it's easy to forget about something like that when you look at a 21-point final margin. But that was a really big moment in that second half where Duke couldn't score for a stretch, and it was Darren Harris who came through for them.
Yeah, listen, and he plays 11 minutes. I mentioned that I don't think he's going to be in the main rotation for the rest of the season, and he probably still won't be. But the fact that he got 11 minutes, you mentioned that big three that he hit at that point in the game. And listen, the rest of the bench I thought played well in this game. Malik Brown, again, he's not going to stand out in any box score, but 5, 8, and 5, that was impressive. Caden Boozer has 8. Nick Kamenya gets, I feel like, a lot of run. We haven't seen him play that. I mean, he played a good amount at Cal because he had a great second half, but playing 24 minutes in this game, I thought he played well as well. And, you know, Duke, they're still getting these guys adjusted. It's still going to be a transition period for some of these younger guys. Now, we mentioned a lot of that probably was due to Dame Sarr being in foul trouble in the second half, to Pat Gongba only playing 15 minutes in this game, despite not being in any foul trouble. So, listen, Duke was able to manage its minutes well, I think. You certainly want to when you have a big cushion in a Saturday game and you know you're coming back on Monday. It's like get some guys off their feet. Let them rest and recover and look forward to Monday's game. So
that's a good point, Kevin. You're keeping me honest, because in reality, we're probably not going to see my guy Darren Harris too much tonight against Louisville. But who knows? Maybe he'll be able to step up, make some big shots.
He was ready for the moment, like you said. I know it was still a 10-point game, and Wake Forest was making a little bit of a run, and he kind of stopped the run with that three-pointer. So anytime his number is going to be called, I feel confident he'll be ready for the moment.
All right, just 11 points, like you said, for Isaiah Evans, who played 29 minutes, went 4 of 11 from the floor, 1 of 6 from three-point range. The averages would tell you we're probably due now at this point for a larger scoring game from Slim. When you look at this one, several dunks for Slim in this game against Wake, too, which I certainly loved, showing he's not just a three-point shooter. He could play above the rim as well with his game. But we mentioned shooting, and Duke made a couple of big threes in that second half comeback they had against Louisville. We've mentioned that all 3 meetings against Pat Kelsey, Duke has ultimately won by 11 points in each of them, but they've been losing at halftime in each of them. So that's a storyline. When this game tips off, Kevin, we'll see how we're feeling, what it's looking like when the game gets to halftime.
Yeah, I mean, the second half adjustments Jon Scheyer has made against Pat Kelsey since he's been at Louisville have been nothing short of perfect. So will that be the case tonight? I think everybody certainly hopes so. But to your point on Isaiah Evans, now over the last 3 games, that's Wake, Stanford, and Cal, he's 6 of 21 from three-point range. And that was on the heels of a stretch where he was about 14 of 30. So almost close to 50% over the last 3 games. So as you mentioned, it has been a little bit of a 3-point struggle for him over the last couple of games. So hopefully being at home, maybe in a big time atmosphere, I'm sure there'll be like, who knows what the rest of Cameron Indoor looks like, but crazies who are on campus. I don't know what class schedule is like, if they're canceled still or delayed because of the weather, but I'm sure there's nothing college students like than to be off class, have a couple beverages, and go watch a basketball game. So I'm sure the crazies will be into it, and they'll be ready to go here tonight as well.
Yeah, especially a big game like this one, man, against Louisville, and ready to make big things happen with a big crowd and environment. And if it's going to be Michael Brown Jr., you want to be able to see what Mikel's able to do against this Duke squad. And then, of course, some time to rest after this game, or Duke will not play, obviously, the rest of the week until we get to Saturday, and they've got the trip up to Castle Coliseum. So this next week here for Duke, looking at Louisville and Virginia Tech, going to be fun to see where ultimately it all shakes up for the Blue Devils once they continue to put this winning streak that they're now on to test here. 7 straight games to open up ACC play this season, Kevin, and we want to see this thing keep going.
Yeah, I would say this is one of the most difficult conference stretches Duke has. Louisville at home, Castle Coliseum, which we all know has been a tough place for Duke. They get Boston College at home. Yeah, okay, whatever. They should win that game by 90. And then you go to North Carolina, and you go to a struggling Pittsburgh team, but with a top 5 Duke team coming in there, I'm sure that place will be fired up. And then you get Clemson at home. So this is a tough stretch that Duke has over the next week and a half to 2 weeks, I guess I should say. in conference play. So we'll see how they handle it, man. Should be fun to watch.
Yeah, we'll see how it all plays out tonight, starting with this game that the Blue Devils have against Louisville from inside Cameron Indoor Stadium. The game is on, and we're going to see this thing play out. Glad to see Louisville get safely into town. And, Kevin, I know that a lot of people could go and find all of your content around Duke in plenty of different places. So take a moment, if you will, and tell us what you got going on.
Yep, over at balldurham.com. We're on top, wall-to-wall Duke basketball. And then, yes, it is still late January, and the Duke football team is still headline news in college football, for better or for worse, I guess you could say. And I'm covering all that over on the Believe in Duke Football podcast, which is on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. So never a dull moment here, no matter what team you're talking about, men's basketball or football, certainly keeping us busy.
Really appreciate the time today, Kevin. We'll talk soon, okay?
Thanks, JJ.
All right, that's Kevin Connelly joining us here on today's episode of Locked On Blue Devils, and that's going to bring our show today to a close. Guys, be sure to subscribe to our podcast feed and subscribe to us for free wherever it is that you get your podcast. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and so much more. That'll do it for today's show. As always, go Duke. I'll talk to you tomorrow. My name is JJ Jackson. Thank you, and good day.